If you're just joining us, we're kind of talking about the power of knowing where the hell it is you're going. If you have a clear idea of what you want, you stand a much better chance of getting there. And I've been making the comparison all day. But if you look at maybe civil rights folks now, like Jesse Jackson, or I don't know, they come up with these vague ideas that sound great. Justice, equality, hope, change, faith. And they talk about these things an awful lot, but they never really kind of go into detail, because when you talk about things like equality, justice, hope, change, faith, I stand for equality, justice, hope, change, and faith. Well, all that sounds really great. But when you get into the definition of what it is, or what that looks like, or, okay, equality, what would that look like? What would we have when we have equality that we don't have now? Describe to me how that would go. Well, that's a long conversation, and I don't know if anybody really has a clear definition of it. What's right, what's fair, and if you get bogged down in the details, well, then you're not going to be as effective a campaigner. You're not going to be as effective at raising money. You're not going to be as effective at bilking people out of their hard-earned cash as you are when you're just able to talk in these vague premises of faith, hope, change. And in this, I'm including politicians, I'm including church leaders, I'm including civil rights activists, people that hide behind the guise of public service, of spiritual leadership, of human rights. And really what they're trying to do is make some money. But if you trot these expressions out on a regular basis, man, you can do great. But it takes a lot more courage. It takes a lot more presence of thought to say, I have a dream that one day little black boys and little white girls will play together and hold hands. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing. I don't mean to do Martin Luther King any injustice by not properly repeating what it is he said, but that's what set Martin Luther King apart from the pack. He had a definition to his dream. He had something concrete that he'd visualized and wanted to attain, as opposed to all these vague, weird things. That's a problem I have with a lot of motivational speakers. Like a buddy of mine was really into this Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, which has a lot of kind of solid ideas about money, but it's largely philosophical and it's largely esoteric and weird, and you never kind of get down to the nitty grit of what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis. It's sort of like, tells you to do your own research elsewhere a lot of the time. You're like, okay, I have this question, like, use tax advantages. Well, what tax advantages? How do I use them? Look into that in another book. Not by me, but by someone else. Like, it's this weird thing. And a buddy of mine swore by this. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I'm not really getting a real concrete list of things to do to change my financial situation here. I'm learning a lot of good philosophical things about money, but as far as actually doing something with my life that changes my financial situation, when I read this book you're so into, I don't see it. And years later, I was like, how'd that Rich Dad, Poor Dad stuff work out for you? He was like, I got really excited by it because, it had these great sort of like philosophical ideas, which I liked, but it sort of fell down in the execution. He was like, it was cool because it helped change my attitude toward money. But, in terms of actually helping me turn my whole thing around, it didn't do a whole lot. And a lot of motivational speakers do that. There's a guy, Robert Greene, I think his name is, who wrote this book that was really big with rappers and business people for a while. And was it the 48? How many laws of power was it? Do you know, Funkhauser? Can you Google that? Was it the 48 laws of power? But anyway, in this book, this guy who, and again, it's totally ironic that this guy is writing a book about the laws of power because he's not an exceptionally powerful individual. Yeah, the 48 laws of power. Yeah, 48 laws of power is a book about power and what makes you powerful. And again, the guy who wrote it, I don't see as an especially powerful individual. He just wrote a book about power. And it's got some really interesting things in it. I like it because it traces things back to feudal Japan and ancient China. And there's a lot of history in it. And it's an entertaining read. Not something to base your life around, but an entertaining read nevertheless. But one of the things that he defines in his books is a charlatan. And a charlatan is a spiritual or a religious or sometimes political leader that will have great power and influence, but never really tell you exactly what it is he or she stands for. They'll be vague while collecting your money, while taking your money. Don't be suckered in, whether it's by other people, by charlatans, who are really just out to separate you from your hard-earned loot. Don't be deceived by them, and also don't deceive yourself. Don't be vague. Don't be suckered in by these weird, indefinable ideas of hope, change, faith, equality, justice. They all sound great, but what are they actually? If you get clear on what these things are, if only to yourself, well, that will radically change how you go through life.